The Sharks want to trade up, and they're in on Marner. We're officially in rumor mill season.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we are getting caught up on the rumor mill as it's officially silly season, smokescreen season, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be kind of going through some of the bigger rumors involving the Sharks. Plus, we're also going to talk about Sam Dickinson as his London Knights. Yeah, they did the thing. So let's go ahead and start with we're going to start with the trading up, right? As we're first of all, before we get to this, we are this is Combine week. This is the first time, actually all off season, where we will have all the GMs and agents and all the big important people in the NHL all together in the same area, right? And normally we would get this time, and then you would get it at the draft, right? As everyone kind of comes in before the draft, has their kind of usually with their final meetings with players. They also talk with agents, with free agency, right? With the decentralized draft, this is it. This is it this year, is this one time where everybody's in the same place, right? And even with the Panthers and Oilers, who are still playing in the playoffs here, they're still going to have representation at the Combine, as their agents and stuff do work towards, with agents and scouts and everything like that. They're still doing all their offseason prep work, right? So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. We're gonna kind of determine how salty these two big ones are. So just because, again, GMs and everybody they're all playing the game of trying to position themselves so that way they can win whatever theoretical trade, whatever signing, whatever they're trying to do. It's all part of the game. So, of course, let's start with David Pagnotta, who actually both these are from the same article from David Pagnotta of the fourth period. He wrote that the San Jose Sharks he wouldn't be shocked if the San Jose Sharks, holding the second overall selection, make an attempt to move up to draft Matthew Schaefer. Darsh did indicate they plan on moving forward the first overall pick, etc. Right? This is what you would expect. I'm sure Mike Grier even had conversations last year. He even said, right, of people listening to people making a pitch for the first overall pick last year when it was Macklin Celebrini, and Mike Grier, of course, politely declined all of those. He politely declined every offer, right? Because they wanted to get Macklin Celebrini. I would be more worried if Mike Grier didn't try to at least make an offer to move up to the first overall pick. And I would be, the same thing. Mike Grier should also be listening to offers for the second overall pick and see if something just comes out there that blows your socks away. Does this mean I think Mike Grier trades to get the first overall pick? Maybe. Most likely not, right? Because I believe even if you have Misa and you have Schaefer pretty equal, and if from everybody I've talked to, right, most people do have Schaefer as the number one pick in the draft, and we'll probably know more as we get closer to it. As Darsh is again still trying to decorate his office and get settled into his new role as the Islanders GM. But like it would be more worrisome if Mike Grier wasn't doing his due diligence to at least see what the cost would be, right? And this time of year, like there's still a couple weeks away from the draft. Everyone's just gonna, like we're not gonna get super serious offers right now because there's still, 3+ weeks to the draft. So all the fake trades where you see the Sharks having to give up, William Eklund and whatever else to move up one pick, like guys, we are in silly season right now. Okay. Mike Grier is not going to blow up Professor Hockey tweeted it perfectly. Like he's not going to tear down everything that he's built for the past couple of years to move up one pick. And yes, for some reason I have a gut feeling the Sharks end up with Schaefer, and that could just be what I think right now on June 2nd, as I'm recording this on June 2nd. I have a gut feeling that they end up with Schaefer one way or another. Maybe that's also me wish casting too a little bit because I like Schaefer a lot. I think he would answer a lot of problems. But if the Sharks get Misa, that's perfectly awesome as well. But these like outrageous trade scenarios of like the Sharks would have to give up like Musty and Eklund and like 7 picks or whatever it is, like guys, again, the return is probably going to be much different than what we expect, right? And you can go back to look at the trades that Mike Grier has made, right? The Timo Meier trade, right? A lot of people were like, oh, maybe they'll, like look at kind of some of the picks and stuff that they might get or some of the potential NHL players. And we got, Fabian Zetterlund, who was kind of an underutilized player with the Devils and grew into a different role here. And, we know what happened there. You got Shakir Mukhamadullin, who we knew was going to be a project, and we're starting to kind of see that start to come to fruition now. And you got a first round pick and a second round pick. And the first round pick, Sharks got lucky and got Quentin Musty, right? And who we feel, and for some reason, a lot of fans already were just ready to trade Quentin Musty away for some reason. I have no idea why. But anyway, if there is a trade, it's probably going to involve like a mid-round, like a mid-level prospect, some picks, right, for a Islanders team that just doesn't have much in the cupboard, and everyone will go about their day. But again, for the Isles, we don't know what they want, right? We don't know what it's going to be, and maybe they're just letting everyone talk about Schaefer, and they're doing their homework on Misa, and they're doing their homework on Hagens and Martone and whomever else, because they feel like they number one center, and there's questions about whether there's questions about if Mises is going to be number one center. There's questions about if Schaefer's going to be a number one defenseman. But like, again, there's a lot of smokescreen and just a lot of kind of maneuvering and stuff like that. And the other thing too, right, is the like potentially trading William Eklund. I get it. Like, but I don't see Mike Grier doing that, right? Like, you have a young, very good NHL player. I think until he signs his extension, there's going to be a little bit of worry about what Mike Grier does with William Eklund going forward, and if he is a potential trade asset. But why would you trade a known commodity in William Eklund, who's just still kind of scratching the surface of what he's going to be and projects to be pretty close to a point per game player here sooner rather than later for Eklund? Like, would you be surprised if Eklund next year is around that like 75 points mark, especially in a Sharks offense that we think is potentially going to take a big step with Celebrini and Smith in year 2, and so whatever pieces they add this summer, including maybe Mitch Marner, who we're going to talk about here in a couple minutes. But like, why would Mike Grier do that to move up for Matthew Schaefer, who I think is going to be awesome, but there's still a lot of question marks about who he's going to be, right? For a guy who's played, less than 30 games last year in the OHL. So, yes, there's a world where Mike Grier trades up. There's a world where Mike Grier trades back. But like, again, we are in silly season mode right now. So just take a deep breath. We'll ride, what have I said, that like just ride the line, right? Ride the line with it. And yeah, we're not trading Eklund and Musty and Chertashov and every prospect who's starting to kind of butt into something right now to move up one spot in the draft, especially when there isn't a clear-cut number one player. And you can get Michael Misa at number 2 and have a really great time as well. So we're going to talk about Mitch Marner here next and why, again, Mike Grier should be doing his due diligence just to see if Mitch Marner wants to be a San Jose Shark. We'll get to that here in just 1 second. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, you need to check out the good source of protein that is Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with better fiber. And they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I like the in-shell variety. I like hearing the little crack. It's like a snack meditation. But if you like the no shell, I'm not going to shell shame you and what you like there. They have plenty of amazing flavors. I like to throw a bag, have a bag at work. Right around like 2:30, you get that little snacky feeling. They'll keep you held over until dinner time. So get snacking, get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, before we continue, do of course want to thank you guys for making the Locked On Sharks your first listen. If you haven't yet, perfect time to subscribe. Be an everydayer, right? Come back every day, even sometimes maybe like today, where there might be 2 episodes today as we continue to get you ready for free agency and for the draft. More free agent profiles, more draft profiles coming along. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. All right, from the same article, we hear the San Jose Sharks also interested in Mitch Marner. Marner, who's going to feels like have half the league interested in his service, as you don't always see 100-point players coming available coming available via free agency. And again, I say, I'd be more worried if Mike Grier wasn't doing his due diligence. Do I think the Sharks sign Mitch Marner? No, I don't think the Sharks end up signing Mitch Marner. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't at least have a meeting, right? And of course, with Marner, there's a lot of great ties with Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau, who both spent time with the Toronto Maple Leafs, now are affiliated with are back working with the Sharks in some way or form, whether officially or unofficially in Joe Thornton's case, whatever his title is or isn't, as the director of Vibes. But, right, for Marner and for Mike Grier, right, this is setting up for Mike Grier as the one thing he really hasn't had to do is make these pitches to prospective top of the line free agents. And yes, he signed Tyler Toffoli, and Tyler Toffoli is a good player, but at some point here in the next couple of years, the hope is Mike Grier lands a big free agent to help move the rebuild along. And not, every team isn't just built up of homegrown guys, right? You have to have free agents. You have to have it's nearly impossible to build up a entirely homegrown team. And whether you work through trades or free agents, right? And this was always the thing GM Doug Wilson could never do, right? He could never land that one big fish free agent in all the years that he tried, right? You look at John Tavares, of course, back at his big free agency, where he ended up going to the Leafs, right? And that was the summer where and Doug Wilson did what he does really well, which is turn around and trade for somebody. And he got Erik Karlsson, right? But for Mike Grier, right, just getting in the room and being able to make your pitch, and you bring in, Patrick Marleau, and you bring in Joe Thornton, and you talk about how great San Jose is, and you start kind of honing that pitch. And even if it's just, if this whole thing is just a practice run for Mike Grier, right, when you do meet a big time free agent. And Mitch Marner, again, the biggest free agent out there since probably John Tavares. I think that shows where the Sharks are starting to go, just to be able to get in the room, right? And there's plenty of teams who I don't think, like much better teams than the Sharks, who I don't think are even potentially going to get a meeting. And we don't even know if the Sharks do get a meeting with Mitch Marner. But the Sharks have a lot of stuff that would be really intriguing to Mitch Marner, right? They have a lot of cap space. They have a really fun young core that's only going to get better. And you're going to be playing in San Jose, where you don't have to deal with the limelight of Toronto, right? There's like 4 beat reporters in San Jose, if that, like instead of like 15 or 20 that Toronto has. Just playing just a little bit different lifestyle, and maybe that's what Marner's looking for. Who knows? Again, do I think the Sharks sign Mitch Marner? No. Do I think Mitch Marner is a great player? Yes. Are there questions about his playoff performances in the past? 100%. But as I've stated before with the Sharks and Mitch Marner, let's focus on playing 500 hockey first before we worry about how a guy performs in the playoffs for you. And, it's yes, there will always be questions about Mitch Marner until he does the thing. And if he can be a playoff performer and stuff, but I don't know, man, that Toronto microscope that is, whatever they got going on over there, that seems like a lot to handle, man. And it's on all the time. And that would probably get to me too, right? If everything you did like that got critiqued to the umpteenth degree, yeah, it would probably start to wear on me a little bit too. So, and start to kind of get to your head a little bit too. So who knows? But again, I do think though the Sharks should at least entertain the thought. And like I said, I don't think it's a really good fit right now because of where the Sharks are at with their rebuild. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't just all of a sudden just be like, nope, we're not doing this. We don't want to have a meeting with him, etc. That doesn't make a lot of sense for the Sharks. Because again, Mike Grier is doing everything in his power to try to make this a better hockey team this year. He said it, right? These are words that came out of Mike Grier's mouth. We have to start building something, especially after last year and how disappointing last year was and the pain that the Sharks went through at the trade deadline. They have to start building something, and Marner is a huge, huge building block. And yes, there would be definite repercussions and what he would bring to San Jose, good and bad. But he is a very talented hockey player, and the Sharks are a team that just needs more talented hockey players on its roster right now. So, I'm not surprised that these Sharks are more than willing to make an offer to Mitch Marner. And maybe Mitch Marner sits through the pitch, says, thank you so much for the meal. And, good to see you, Jumbo. Good to see you, Patty. Thanks a lot. But, I don't think this is the right time right now. Cool. At least you had the meeting, you had the conversation with the guy, and to see what happens. So, again, we're in rumor season, we're in silly season, smokescreen season. It's fun though. So, one guy who definitely isn't a rumor about how good he is, Sam Dickinson, guys. He might be ready, guys. So we're gonna talk about Sam Dickinson here in just 1 second. All right, I do want to, of course, thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. For your second listen of the day, go check out the Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Okay, Sam Dickinson. First of all, congratulations to the London Knights. They did the thing, right? And you don't really, how often do we see a team, right, where they just miss out, right, and they lose the Memorial Cup after having a dominant year last year, and you kind of do the like, we're doing the last dance thing, we're getting the band back together, and basically most of the entire team comes back and they actually pull off the thing, right? The Oilers kind of have a chance to do it this year against the Panthers, but so congrats to them. Congrats to Sam Dickinson. Congrats to Kasper Halttunen for going back and doing the thing. But I do want to talk about Sam Dickinson, who, like, I've watched a lot of Sam Dickinson this year. Because one, watching London is really fun to watch London just kind of kick the crap out of really bad teams. And you saw, especially early in the year, Dickinson would, maybe try to do a little too much here and there, and you have some questions about his decision making and stuff like that. I don't know how, from watching the OHL playoffs, watching the Memorial Cup, where like these are the four best teams in the CHL, like all the CHL, right? There, you have the you have Medicine Hat, who won the WHL and has like an insane roster of, guys like, I don't know, Gavin McKenna, who's going to be the number one pick in next year's draft. That dude is insane. Katie Lindstrom, who was a top 4 pick in last year's draft. You have the Oasis Wisebot, who's, been there. Tanner Mollendijk, who is like a top, probably the second or third best defenseman in the entire Memorial Cup, right? I guess he was the second best defenseman in the Memorial Cup because, like, he massive prospect for the Preds. Guy I really liked, when he was going through his draft process. I don't know how you don't watch what Sam Dickinson just put together and say, like, yeah, man, send that guy back. Send that guy back to the OHL. And unfortunately, he is stuck in this like purgatory, right, of guys who can either go to the NHL or go to the OHL. And unfortunately, because he signed his ELC before the rules changed, he's not eligible to go to college, because college would make a ton of sense for Sam Dickinson, right? And great job at London. Go spend a year playing at, Michigan or Penn State or, one of the Boston schools, wherever you want to go, buddy. Like, go spend a year playing in the NCAA. We'll see you next. We'll see you next spring, right? But like, what Sam Dickinson was asked to do while playing 30 to 35 minutes a night, let's just start there. The dude's playing 30 to 35 minutes a night in these high leverage situations. It's not like, yes, there were some games where London, kind of blew out their opponent, but a lot of these, the way London clamped down defensively in the playoffs, where they were like, we're going to get up, a goal or two here in the third, and we're going to just force you to have to score on us. And we'll take advantage of any opportunities that you present us, right? We're going to just clamp it down because we believe in our defense, we believe in our structure, and we feel like we have the forwards who can stress test you when they get an opportunity. But the way Dickinson was just relied on night in, night out, shift after shift to clamp things down, and against some of the best players in the entire CHL, right? Going back to the Oshawa series, Beckett Seneca, who was the 3rd overall pick in the 2024 draft. A surprise, to be sure, that Seneca went there, but it's not like Beckett Seneca didn't just go out and back it up with a massive season in the OHL. And Dickinson shut him down, right? Like, did not give him space. That guy, he just looked flustered, didn't look like himself, right? And then even in the Memorial Cup, Daniel, who's going to be a top 10 pick in this draft, maybe a top 5 pick, Dickinson's out there every time with him. And yes, I know these guys are NHL players, but these are the best of the best in the CHL right now. Gavin McKenna. Yeah, I know McKenna had a sweet goal and Dickinson was out there for that, but I don't know, man. If you hold Gavin McKenna to one goal, that feels like a win to me. But he's out there making life harder for Gavin McKenna. And not only is he doing that in the defensive zone, he's also having to help drive play offensively. And he does it in the Memorial Cup final with 3 apples, right? I know 2 of them were secondary ones, but he's making the right play that's leading to goals for London. The third one where he just shuts down, I think it was Oasis Weisblatt at the blue line, just shuts him down, pokes the puck away. That leads to a breakaway that leads to the third goal. I just don't know what more you can ask from him in the OHL. I said it the other day. My worry with him going back to the OHL is that he just develops bad habits. But what we've seen from him in the playoffs and the way London has played, that's NHL, man. That's NHL hockey right there. When we need to shut things down, we can shut things down. When we need to kind of take advantage of, it wasn't just run and gun hockey. London's whole structure, basically the entire playoffs and in especially the Memorial Cup, for a team that scores as much as London. And yes, the opponents are much better, but they were a more defensive focused team. We believe we just got better dudes on the back end, and Oliver Bonk deserves all the credit in the world too, because he was excellent as well. But Sam Dickinson's the dude leading the way, who's playing out there basically every other shift. If you're watching the game, how often did you hear Dickinson with a nice stop? Dickinson, erases this guy. Dickinson doing this. Dickinson doing this. Dickinson pass leading to and then I don't know, man. I just have a hard time seeing him going back to the OHL. And maybe he comes out and in the first he gets his 9 games before his contract no longer slides. And maybe he comes out and he just doesn't look NHL ready. But I think you have to give him a legitimate shot to play NHL games in the playoff, in NHL games next year. And yes, the Sharks aren't going to be good. Okay. So Sam Dickinson's eventually going to be really good. And the quicker he starts playing NHL games, I think the quicker he gets to being a very, very good NHL player. So, I'm 100% I think it'd be really hard for me to not see Sam Dickinson play NHL games next year. And we'll have, I'm sure he's going to get a full taste of it with the rookie tournament. I'm sure he's going to, with preseason games, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the last guys you have to make a decision on. But again, I'm going to take the Will Smith thing. If he plays in the NHL next year and he gets his butt kicked for a year, he's probably going to be a better player at the end of it than he was if he just went back and dominated the OHL next year. So, but yeah, we'll be back later today as we continue our foray into NHL free agents. We're going to be looking at 3 more forwards, kind of in that middle class of guys who I think would make some sense for the San Jose Sharks. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Till later. Bye, friends.